couple of weeks ago, I made a video where I was talking about one of my favorite phrases from The Truman Show. One of the comments on that video was a really big question. From your point of view, and based on where you have lived and their cultures, how do you seek happiness? I was struck back pretty far because I thought, how am I possibly going to answer this question in a single comment on YouTube? And so my answer was, this is probably going to need to be a video, but I gave a short answer. Live to give. Happiness will find you. Now that sounds quite virtuous, unrealistic, maybe a little bit idealistic, but at the same time, I think probably you're thinking, well, that makes sense. Of course, if you're generous, then all sorts of good things will happen and surely you will find happiness. But no matter how obvious a phrase seems at first, when you look back at your life, you start to realize that it's not really how you actually live your life. You know, you read all these great phrases and these great children's books and then these great novels and you watch these great movies. And when you compare what the main characters in these stories learn, the adventures they go on, the journey that they go all the way through to find out what life really needs to be for them to find happiness, I find that so many of us go back to our real lives and we don't change anything. This phrase that I said in the comment, I actually do really stand by. I had a sort of, I don't want to call it a near-death experience, but there was a moment when I was in hospital some years ago when they were like, we're going to have this operation and we don't actually know what's in your head. It was brain surgery. At that time, obviously, I was starting to really consider all the things in my mind, like, okay, what kind of life have I lived? And did I do it right? Did I live the way that I needed to live in order to be happy now that I know that it might be ending? Spoiler alert, obviously, it didn't end. I'm still here. And that will be another huge story for another time. But I definitely came away from the experience with this phrase, live to give. It's not just that you should be generous, because also I think that is, like I said earlier, really idealistic. If you try to live this life where you're completely altruistic, I think you end up like the tree in The Giving Tree. You remember the book when you were kids? The tree is there when the kid is born, and the kid uses the tree as a tree house and as a swing. He gets an apple from the tree, and eventually, I'm doing spoiler alert, he chops down the tree and he ends up using the tree to build a house. Or the tree lived for the boy. And it was his honor to be able to just give everything away to the boy. And the tree was obviously very happy. But the problem with the story is that the tree is an ideal thing. It never asks for anything in return. And yes, it does have the happiness of being loved by the boy. But don't forget, the tree dies, okay? The tree gets chopped down and no longer exists at the end of it. The point is, you're not supposed to be the tree. You're supposed to learn about the amazing example set by the tree. Be a giver, the giving tree. Be generous, live to give. That's what I'm thinking about, but it is an over-idealized idea. But what I was really thinking about when I was in hospital, thinking, have I really lived the life that I wanted to live? If I actually don't make it through the night, and tonight really is my last day, because essentially the surgery was supposed to be a week later, and they're like, guess what? The surgery's tomorrow because we can't wait. It was getting really serious. The weird thing that I was thinking about actually was anime. Here I am, potentially on the last night of my life, wondering whether I had lived it properly. And I'm thinking about Vegeta. Thinking about Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. Everyone's favorite, not everyone's favorite anime, but one of the greatest animes of all time. What I learned through the character of Vegeta is this constant struggle to make his life have meaning. And everyone, all the other characters have their own ways to make their lives have meaning. And you can see plenty of characters are happy, other characters are struggling, but they've all, in a way, they all found their natural balance. Goku just wants to get stronger and stronger. Bulma wants to find the man of her dreams, but Vegeta specifically is the one who is addressing what is life going to mean when it's all over. I feel like he was constantly trying to leave behind a legacy. He's the prince of the Saiyans, and so legacy is the whole thing. In a royal family, really the main thing is that you have a kid. You ideally just have a kid. That is the main thing you're supposed to do, because that is how you continue your royal family and your reign over the kingdom. So for Vegeta, he's trying to figure out how to leave behind a legacy, but he's obviously not interested in having children. He just wants to be the strongest. He's kind of decided that having children isn't the way. I mean, obviously later on he does have children, but he's, that's not even an option in his mind at the start of the series. He's just like, how do I become the strongest ever? How do I defeat Frieza? And he comes to this idea that he needs to live forever. It's basically, he hears it on the Scouter. He goes, oh, there's these things called Dragon Balls. Now we can wish for eternal life. I think he does it on a whim. But the truth is, if he did have eternal life, he couldn't leave behind a legacy because he would never die. Anyway, that's a completely different topic. It's not maybe the case for everyone, but certainly for myself and for many people, I think we're trying to define our lives by leaving something behind. When you go, the only thing that will remain of you is memories of you. Physically speaking, all human bodies will just, biodegrade and become one with the earth again. Really, the only thing that is left of you in the mortal realm is people's memories of you and the history books. And that is basically what I think we define as your legacy. So in one way, I feel like live to give is an important phrase because, yes, you could live to take, and that's what probably most people do. Live to get the biggest house, live to take the biggest car, live to get the most money, live to get the most success. Everyone's thinking about the now, and have, and take. But ultimately, you watch the movies and all the stories, and it's like it ends up kind of empty. It's like, I have everything, and yet I somehow have nothing. When you live to give, then you're left with nothing but the truth in your mind. When you're near the end, you don't know how much longer you have to live. All you know is that what you gave to the world was real. You know what you gave to the world. Maybe you didn't give all good things, maybe you gave some bad things as well, but you left something behind, and that is what I would like define as your legacy. You can't hold happiness. I think even if you feel like you've got it now, like you finally got the car you wanted, you finally bought the house of your dreams, eventually you'll be like, okay, I've got it, now what? Happiness isn't something that you can just receive once and hold. I think it needs to be an ongoing feeling. And so really you're not just searching for happiness, the object. What you're really searching for is happiness and ongoing feeling. And I don't think you can get better an ongoing feeling than the security in the knowledge that no matter when you die, whenever it happens or wherever it happens or however it happens, you know that it'll be okay because what you've done up until now, to this very moment, or to the next moment, or in the next few years, or in the next dozens of years, decades, or hundreds of years from now, when it does happen, it'll be okay. It'll be okay when it happens because I'm satisfied with everything that I've done and left behind. So really, that's all there is to it. It's a very simple idea. Live to give, and happiness will find you. It's not really that you will go out and find and attain and hold happiness. It's just that you will feel happy and it will be ongoing until the day that you actually do pass on, because you'll feel so secure knowing that you gave. Not like the tree, though. I'm not asking you to be altruistic, like the idea that, you actually live to only be generous and give to others. I actually think that the idea of altruism kind of goes against the human nature. It's so ingrained in the human to survive. And if your number one rule of living is to not die, your main rule is to survive, then at some point you're going to have to stop giving, because once you've given everything, the last thing you can give is just your life, which is what the giving tree actually does. He just gives away everything until he ceases to exist. And I don't think it's necessary for the human to go that far. We just look at these stories and we learn from those examples. We see them as role models and great moral stories. To live to give is an important way of thinking because it just makes you feel so much more secure every day, every minute of your life. If you're confident that the things you're doing are to leave something behind, your legacy, if we can call it that, then I think that happiness will certainly come and find you. Anyway, that's all for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you want to watch another one, I highly recommend this video right here. So check that one out next. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, like the video, and comment below. What is your way of finding happiness? Maybe we can read those comments out in the future and actually share some of the community's ideas on these topics, because it doesn't have to be just mine, because let's face it, what am I thinking? It's mostly blank.